Live from New York City, it's the Gary Null Show. And now, your host, Gary Null.
Hi. Hi, I'm Gary Null. We're here to talk about ways we can live a longer and healthier and hopefully disease-reduced life. Because what are you facing today? You're facing higher death rates from fentanyl, suicide, alcoholism if you're young, and you're facing more obesity. If you're young, heart disease, arthritis, if you're young, things we never had to experience when I was growing up. But today they're common. And we're not talking about a little percentage of the population, we're talking about a large percent. But then as we age, we also go through a midlife situation. It used to be midlife was about 35. 30 even was midlife at one time in the United States. But today we are actually reversing our aging timeline. We're living shorter because of COVID and all the choices that happened during COVID. And it's at least 3 years off our lifespan, and in some cases longer. Because what did people do during the last 3 years? They stayed at home, many of them, and never have figured that out. How is it that a liquor store is essential and somehow the virus won't infect you in the liquor store? Or if you shop, but if you shop in a box store like Walmart, virus doesn't seem to bother anyone there. But if you shop in a small mom and pop store, you shop in a small restaurant, oh yeah, can't go there. The virus is waiting behind every box. How foolish was that? Well, it was. But I'm not here to talk about the stupidity of bureaucratic minds. I'm talking about making positive choices with reason, because you want to live a longer life. And every choice matters because it's all cumulative. Good things, good deeds are cumulative. We feel better about ourselves for being a good person, doing the right thing. And we like other people because they touch our heart, not just stimulate our mind. The person in the crowd that tries to be the braggart that shows off, that has to start and end every conversation, that's a person that's tedious. That's a person we don't like being around. Yet we'll rarely say so. But who do we like being around? People we can laugh with. People that allow us to laugh at ourselves. People we can feel relaxed and at ease with. The people who've got our backs. They're not going to take what we share in our relationships or in our friendships or our family gatherings and share it with the world. No, that breaks our confidence. No, these are people that whatever we do, it's our experience, and that's it. And now trust is a very important issue, because without trust, what are we going to do? Who are we going to do it with? What opportunities will we pass by because she was, I didn't trust I could do that. I didn't trust the people I was working with. No, we have to regain trust. We have to regain optimism. We have to regain the ability to be like a child, curious about everything and wanting to know as much as we can. That's why I do this research. That's why every night for hours, I'm studying the scientific literature to present to you in lay language information that can allow you to make better choices. Your freedom of choice is going to be directly related to how honest is the information you're receiving, how unbiased is it, and how usable is it. What's the good of talking about something you can't use or you can't afford? So all this goes into making decisions. So we begin, for example, with Tufts and Georgetown universities. They found that L-carnitine, that's C-A-R-N-I-T-I-N-E, can promote muscle growth and strength, especially in older adults. And what are the two things we miss as we grow older, meaning over the age of 40? Muscle mass begins to shrink. Human growth hormone diminishes. Exercise diminishes. Fatigue sets in. The mitochondria, the energy factories of our cells, are depleted for a lot of reasons. Stress will deplete it because stress raises cortisol, epinephrine, norepinephrine, catecholamines. And that is a fight or flight series of responses lasting maybe a minute, 2 minutes. What if you're stressed all day long? What if you can't let go of something? What if you can't get beyond something? What if you're just holding on to anger or revenge like a dog with a bone? then you end up hurting yourself again. And that's a big deal in the United States because we have not allowed people to forgive and go on with their lives, learning the lesson so it doesn't happen again, hopefully. So in this process, you exhaust your adrenal glands. Stress exhausts your adrenal glands where you get your natural adrenaline. And now you're not getting it. So you have your coffee. That'll get me up in the morning. That'll get me moving. Yeah. And it does a lot of damage to your brain and to your circulatory system, and especially creating GERD in the stomach. Where do you think all this digestive reflux comes from? Coffee in the stomach, hydrochloric acid. It's not a combination that's compatible. And suddenly you're belching back up into the esophagus, causing your hydrochloric acid to burn the sensitive mucus lining of your esophagus. As a result, one of the fastest growing cancers in the world is esophageal cancer. Now, you can help that. You can help overcome what we thought was a cause of cancer in the stomach was E. pylori, Helicobacter. It was actually a bacteria and causing the ulcers in most cases. What do you think helped it? Cabbage juice. Yeah, cabbage juice. I was once working on a series of books that I wrote and called The Secret Circle. They were factually correct, but novelized. And I was working with the city editors of the New York Journal America, Guy Richards, famous journalist, kind of like out of a Damon Runyon movie. And we would meet and go over what really happened to the Romanovs. And there was a whole group of what are called White Russians. White Russians had nothing to do with the color of their skin. There were either the Reds, that were the communists, the Bolsheviks, and the Leninists, and there was the Royalist. The whites were the Royalists. Marie Kapakhin and all these people I got to meet. They were born in Russia. They were relatives of Tsar Nicholas II in Alexandria. And so, true story. And I wrote a book on this. And there was an interesting thing because no one ever probated the will of the wealthiest man in the world. He owned the Trans-Siberian Railroad. He had gold mines. He was phenomenally wealthy. Why didn't they probate the will? Because his mother was still alive, the dowager. His brother, Michael, was alive. All these immediate relatives were alive, and therefore they should have had all the wealth. Well, you can't probate a will if the person isn't dead. And they weren't. They escaped. I'm not going to go into any more of it. This, with the man who, there's a whole group of us. Robert Speller Jr. was the most brilliant man on this whole subject. And Peter Bessel from Great Britain, member of Parliament, all these people were all working together. And I had a piece of that puzzle based upon my own work. A man named Aaron Simonovich, who was Rasputin's personal secretary, controlled his life. And this is something I've never talked about. That was a long time ago, in the early 1970s. In any case, while we're sitting there talking one day, going over, the community up in Bedford, Connecticut, which was the Russian enclave, he bent over. I said, "What's wrong?" He said, "Oh, it's, he's coughing and he's coughing up blood." And I said, "We better get you to the hospital." He said, "No, I know what's wrong. I got to take this medicine." He took some medicine. He said, "I've had this for about 2 years now." And I said, "What is it?" He said, "Well, I've got these ulcers." So I said, "Okay." I said, "If you can meet tomorrow, I want to give you something." So I brought him a gallon of raw, organic cabbage juice. And he said, "What's this?" And I said, "It may be able to help you. And here's some herbs that can also help you. Marshmallow root, fennel root, anise root." And so he took them. 3 days later, he said, "Something's happening in there. Haven't coughed up any blood." And a month later, his ulcers were healed. And so there's a lot of things that we can do to help the body in its healing process, but we have to be open to it. And that's a big deal. In fact, I was working in Harlem every day at the Schoenberg and also the County Cullen. And I was working on my book. Actually 3 books, Black Geniuses, about all the Black inventions, or the inventions made by African Americans, including Lewis Latimer, who really should have gotten the credit for the light bulb instead of Edison. But Edison was smart in a sense. He would buy up inventors, inventions, and put them to work in his Edison laboratories, but he got the credit for it and the money for it. In any case, I had spent about 2 years finding all these inventions. There were hundreds of inventions, and probably the greatest inventor ever was Booker T. Washington. Very important part of history as far as I'm concerned. In any case, there was a woman across the table, and she had a really, really bad cold. So I went home at lunchtime, and I made up a bunch of juices, and I filled them with supplements, and I took them out and says, "Ma'am," I said, "this may help you." "What's in it?" I told her. And she took it. Well, the next day she came in and said, "Well, that worked really good. You know, no more nasal drip, my congestion, my head's cleared up. What are you doing here?" Mind you, we've been working here for 2 weeks. At that woman, I had seen her for 2 weeks. I said, "Well, I'm trying to find people who worked in Hollywood were African-American back at the beginning." She said, "Oh," she said, "my friend worked in Hollywood, and he was called the Black Valentino. His name was Lorenzo Tucker, and his wife is a close friend of mine." Ooh, that door opened. And from there, and you can see photographs on my website under photos, you'll see me sitting with a group of people, and all those are actors who had once worked for Oscar Michelou, the great independent Black producer, and there was Lorenzo Tucker. And then we worked together, and that's how I met Brock Peters, who became a friend. And after several years, I published Black Hollywood, History of the African American Experience in Films. Small world, isn't it? All these interconnections. Sometimes I feel like Forrest Gump without the chocolate. I seem to have had all these wonderful experiences. That's because I approach everything like a child. You know, the innocence of, wow, let's find this. What's in there? In any case, and that also is what drew me into health. Let's go back to this point about, sorry, sometimes when I'm talking extemporaneously, I just see these little sidebar issues coming in. But supplementing with L-carnitine can increase your lean muscle mass, and that's what we're losing, as I mentioned. And this only took 8 weeks. 8 weeks of using L-carnitine and L-leucine, L-E-U-C-I-N-E, and creatine, C-R-E-A-T-I-N-E, and vitamin D3, just those things. And most runners use them. Most people exercising don't know about them. And they're all good, no problems with them. And you suddenly cause muscle cells to increase protein synthesis. And this was published in the peer-reviewed journal Nutrition and Metabolism. So that's good news, because L-carnitine does something else also. If you're having fatigue, brain fog, dementia, Alzheimer's, I'm going to recommend L-carnitine. If you want to make sure you have a strong heart and you don't have a heart attack before you go to bed at night, you take L-carnitine, vitamin E, cayenne, and magnesium, and it helps your heart, and it thins your blood, preventing strokes. A lot of people have strokes in the middle of the night. And also when you go out for a workout, if you take coenzyme Q10 and L-carnitine, magnesium, and calcium, and vitamin E and tocotrienols and cayenne, that helps you, because carnitine also gives energy to the heart. It feeds the metabolism of the heart, what are called the mitochondria, but it also does the same in the brain. So if I'm going to go do a lecture, and I know some of my lectures, those of you who've been to them, they go on and on. I take about 1,000 milligrams of L-carnitine because it energizes the mitochondria in my brain. If I'm going to do a race, I'm going to take L-carnitine because it helps my heart muscle, and yours as well. So, you know, this is what they found at Georgetown University Medical Center and Tufts University. So something simple, something natural. L-carnitine in combination improves protein anabolism and increases muscle mass and functioning strength, the things we lose as we age. By the way, by the time you're 50, you lose 1 to 2% of your muscle each year. And that's why you should take a plant-based protein, the smoothie in the morning, take about 1/3 of what you need at a time. So take 1/3 in the morning. For most people, it's 20 grams. Might be more or less, depending upon your body size and your activity and how much muscle you actually use. But that's a good range. So if I take 1 scoop of protein powder and I throw it into a blender in the morning, and I can put my berries in and a scoop of walnuts or walnut butter one day, and the next day I might go to cashews, the next day hazelnuts, the next day almonds. I rotate. The key is rotating them. And then throw different berries in each day. You're really starting the day right. I mean, you're treating your body as if you were a finely tuned living organism. You're giving it all that it needs. And that's good. Lots of fiber, lots of raw in the diet too. That helps. An avocado a day keeps a heart attack away because the oils in the avocado are great for the heart. In any case, by the age of 60, you're losing 3% of your muscle mass per year. That's huge. And that's why we see people kind of dwindling down. And that's when I'm offering 1,500 milligrams of carnitine and 2,000 milligrams of leucine and 3,000 milligrams of creatine and probably 4,000 units of vitamin D3. That would be, anywhere from 10 micrograms of vitamin D3, but units are easier to understand. Then you're going to have muscle mass. And this was done against a placebo, and it worked. So you want to keep your muscles because you want to keep your strength and you want to keep your physical activity, and this allows it. That alone would help an awful lot of people in this audience. Now, another thing that we have problems with is fatigue, especially chronic fatigue syndrome. It's associated with distinct changes in the microbiome, the bacteria in your gut. Columbia University did this study along with Jackson Laboratory. So over the past 3 years, the emergence of long-term effects associated with COVID-19 has led to increased focus on a disease with similar hallmarks and symptoms, and that is chronic fatigue syndrome. And 2 studies published in the journal Cell, Host and Microbe, are taking a closer look as it relates to the microbiome. And what they're finding is that the quality of your gut bacteria in both cases can make a difference when it comes to the outcome of your fatigue, either from long COVID or from chronic fatigue syndrome. And both of these will impact your immune system. Example, clean, healthy food, healthy bacteria. Processed, overprocessed, denatured food and beverages, sugar, fat, trans fats, unhealthy bacteria. And unhealthy bacteria, unhealthy immune system. Healthy bacteria, healthy immune system. There's a definite correlation. So we want to make sure that we're getting good, healthy bacteria. Probiotics and prebiotics and foods or supplements does that. A lot of people are going towards the vegan dairy, like a yogurt made from coconut. Okay. Where do you find on there the amount of bacteria you're getting? I haven't seen any. Why? Because they're not giving you enough of the bacteria. You want to know, how much bacteria am I getting? Am I getting 1 billion? Am I getting 10 billion? Yeah, then you're making a big difference. Also from Pennsylvania State University comes a study that 150 minutes of aerobic exercise per week reduces liver fat. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, it's a major killer. And a huge percentage of the American population suffers from it. So you're not having a diseased liver because of alcohol. That's why it's called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, because your diet, fructose, sugars, saturated fats, trans fats. And once you get obese, you're going to have that kind of condition more often than not. But they're suggesting 150 minutes. That's not much. That's 2.5 hours a week. I suggest 400 minutes a week. 400 minutes a week. That's 45 minutes a day. All right? That would do even better than the small amount they're suggesting. But still, it's helping people. And helping people is the key. Sometimes you have to start at a lower amount and work up, and that's fine. And finally, red rice bran extract alleviates a high-fat diet-induced non-alcoholic liver disease. And this is in the University of School of Medicine in Thailand. And you've seen it in the health food store. You've seen red rice bran extract, or RRBE. It's rich in phytonutrients and has been shown to have anti-diabetic, anti-inflammatory, and antioxidant properties. It also is anti-hepatic steatosis, and it really makes a difference in helping your liver. So something that's all natural, non-toxic, that can help you if you have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So now combine the two. Combine the exercise that is proven beneficial and combine this in the diet, and you have a chance to maintain hepatic health. Yeah. That's the latest on health and nutrition. By the way, one last thing from Capital Medical University in China, Alzheimer's healthy lifestyles linked to slower memory decline regardless of genetic risk. Okay? So let's just keep to a healthy lifestyle. They studied 29,000 older adults and over 10 years to investigate the link between lifestyle choices and memory loss. And that's what they found. So healthier lifestyle, less inflammation in the brain, better neurological activity, better cognition, better memory, better skills at thinking, resolving problems. So the fruits, the vegetables, the whole grains, the legumes, the nuts, the seeds, the pulses, the green tea, healthy juices. That's what can help you. That's the latest on health and healing. And go to GaryNull.com, read the articles, see the videos. Also, for a lot of our work here, especially the series that I do every day called Classroom on the Air, and it can go from 20 minutes to an hour. I select a different topic every day, and I go into depth on just one topic. Today, it's about what you should know about artificial intelligence and its different manifestations, and how by not knowing, you could be jeopardizing your own future, because it's going to be a tsunami of destroying jobs. And yet, over 100 million people in the first 2 months signed up for it. Wow. No thinking, just this mindset of, yeah, if I don't have to figure something out, if I don't have to do any research, and I just ask a question that gives me the answer instantly within like 3 seconds, yeah, that's what I want. Well, think deeper, because there's a price that all of us are going to pay. But anyhow, you can go to Rumble, you can go to Odysee, you can go to YouTube, Gary Null YouTube, and you can get that. And that's a free service. All right? Back in a moment. Please stay with us.
Are you tired of closed-minded programming? Well, look no further than PRN.Live, the home for progressive voices.